I began my little career in photography through my brother. My brother had a modest setup in the basement of our old house on Pine Street. And so when he went away to college, I kind of messed around with his gear and got an interest in it, but just as a hobby. And there was something about photography. And it was just a quicker satisfaction of getting that creative outlet to myself.
The exhibit, Our Colorful Past, is blending so many things that we like to do here at the museum, and that is highlight our Stockton or local regional history through the photographs. Then the colorization allows us to spotlight Dick Belcher as a creative and what he has been able to do by colorizing these images. And it gives us the opportunity to partner and work with the Bank of Stockton. And we have this deep, long relationship, and so anytime that we can work with community partners, it strengthens the exhibit.
The bank has made a commitment to preserve the history of our communities and our surrounding areas that we serve. And one way is to do it through the archive collection that we have.
Photographic history preservation is so important for any museum and for our community as a whole, because it gives us a chance to show people what our community's roots are and the different directions and the impact that our industry and people have had both in our community, state, nationally, and throughout the world. It's a source of pride for our community.
You know, it's very important to preserve that history. It gives us a look into the past, and it also helps us learn what's going to happen in the future.
The Bank of Stockton is very excited that the Haggin has asked to do this exhibit honoring Dick's work. We have worked with Dick for so many years, and it's also a lovely way for us to be able to showcase the collection and the beautiful calendar images that have been done over the years.
The bank and the archives have had a long interaction for a number of years, going back probably late 80s, early 90s from my uncle. It was a way for the bank to capture the history of our community. Collection came available, and it just kind of mirrored what the bank kind of stands for.
The bank's annual calendar project started shortly after we acquired the Leonard Cavello collection in 1990.
Bob Eberhardt had discovered that one of the old photographers in town had a grandson that was willed his collection of old photographs that he had collected over the years.
And Bob Eberhardt was the president of the bank at that time. And I remember him being very excited to be able to acquire this collection.
And he had probably 20,000 or more images that were languishing in the grandson's basement. And the grandson really wasn't interested in the collection, but Bob knew he had it. And so the bank made an offer to him to acquire that collection.
Bob then decided to devote resources to have a historical archive. And at that point, we had cataloging done and what have you, and then it morphed into a calendar project. So we had a salesman that would come in all the time and, share his goods. And there was an annual calendar that was a canned calendar like everybody else. So when he came in to promote that, Bob said, "I want to talk to you after," and called me in and said, "Okay, I think we could maybe use our archives for a calendar. Do you think we can do it?"
So as a marketing tool, Angela had seen an old See's Candies ad that had colorized the Mrs. C's, and she thought, well, boy, wouldn't it be interesting if we could take some of these images and colorize them and bring some life back to it.
Oh, he said, I like that. Kind of brings things to life. let's see if we can talk to Dick Belcher and get him in here and see if he can make something like that happen with the photos we have in the archives.
In the old days, in the 50s, when people shot black and white portraits, if they wanted it in color, you would actually have a retoucher come in, and you'd have the print was maybe a 16 by 20, and they would actually get colored oils, transparent oils, with Q-tips and cotton swabs, rub in the flesh tone, rub in the color of the dress, put a little pink on the cheeks. So for the first year, I think it was 94 or 95, we did it the old-fashioned way. And to me, it was frustrating because I'm very detail-oriented, and I wasn't able to do it the way I wanted to do it. And Photoshop was coming about in those days, and things were turning into digital. And I knew there had to be a way in Photoshop that I could add color, make it look kind of realistic, but not overdo it, and kind of bring life to it.
The colorization of the photographs really does bring them to life and makes them more relatable for a lot of people. I think the perfect example, obviously, is the Christmas tree with the bits of green in it, and I think that warms up the image and makes us feel and relate to it a little bit more.
So we start out, ideally, is the source material. I would digitize the image, get it scanned, and then the first process would be to invert it from a negative to a positive. And then we do a cleanup. Old negatives have scratches. Some of the negatives are cracked, and so we have to repair and restore the image. Once I get the image to where it's really be a great black and white photo, I start adding color. The process I use is I start with the face, the skin tones first. Then I usually start with the clothing. There's suits, there's suit coats, there's shirts, there's ties, there's pants, there's shoes. Everything that is colorized is on its own layer. And so some of these images will have 90 to 100, 120 layers. And it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of meticulous outlining the area I want to control and then making it so it's a natural selection. And then the background colors. But everything is totally colored. You know, it's black and white to begin with, and then every piece, every pixel in there has another adjustment made to it.
One of the most interesting things about working with Dick Belcher on this project was really his humility regarding his creative talent.
Having worked with Dick for such a long time, I can tell you that he is very much a perfectionist, and that is why these images are so beautiful, and I'm very happy we get to showcase them for him so people can see his level of expertise.
Dick Belcher is very talented in what he does, and he's done a very good job with our archives and bringing them all back to life. You know, Dick is a master at what he does.
One of the best satisfactions I get out of working on this project is I'll be driving around and you see the billboards. The bank uses these images for their marketing. They use them for their branch interior decorating. The images are blown up very large, and that's always fun to see is my work up in a place where other people, other than the calendar, they can see the images. But it's always fun to see my work out there, and whether people know it's me, I get the satisfaction knowing that I did a good job.